Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. My friends, I want to thank Tim Riley for directing my show today. He's wonderful at this. And I want to say happy birthday to Diane Doheny, who is offering you free contemplative calendars, which Tim is going to put up on the lower thirds of Joel Goldsmith's inspirational calendars, and they're free. So if you email ddoheny1@comcast.net, which Tim will put up so you can write it down, please email her and say, I want a copy of that Contemplations calendar for 2019. It's Joel's inspirational messages. It's fabulous. So thank you, Diane, and again, thank you, Tim. And thank you, Joel, for the book I'm going to talk about, which is A Message for the Ages, which I realize sometimes I forget to tell you what the book is that I am doing a book report on. It's so funny. What a weird assignment that I ended up doing book reports. I don't think I liked them as a kid, but I like this one. A Message for the Ages is really talking about the new year. Everything is new because every second of every moment of life is eternal. And the message of A Message for the Age is that we are eternal this moment. We're whole, complete, and perfect. We have the 3 O's. We're omnipresent, we're omnipotent, and we have all wisdom. We have the still small voice. So I give thanks to Joel because he's making it very clear that we were not only celebrating eternalness now, but God created us whole, complete, and perfect, and also works through us and acts on us all the time, if we realize that that can happen. That's kind of the secret to this whole book, is we have as much God as we care to realize. You got that? You got as much as you can realize. You got to reach out for it. You've got to find it yourself. Your parents can't give it to you. Your past can't give it to you. The earth plane, a human plane, cannot give it to you. What your neighbors think of you matters not. It's how you feel within, recognizing God is your voice if you listen. He starts out talking about the God of hell and damnation and fire. He tries to take us from that place in history where, gosh, you could go to hell very easily if you sin, which is all the reason why you give all your money to a church, because you get on this list and then you're saved and then you got it made. Well, my friends, that's not really where we're at. We have gone way beyond that, although some haven't. We went into metaphysics. We had Christian Science, the birth of unity, Church of Religious Science, the infinite way. But metaphysics also was a big step because metaphysics didn't like the result of what the church was saying about healing and feeling better. And our prayers, are they answered? And they weren't. So they went somewhere else. They went to something that overcame something else. And even that was falling short until the infinite way came along, which is teaching mysticism, which helps us to rise. Metaphysics still has something overcoming something, like, what's wrong with you? Well, let's think this way. We don't do that anymore. We simply go into consciousness, which is what A Message for the Ages is telling us. We are divine consciousness, period. It is within us. We're part of this consciousness. We're individual expressions of God. We're here to do something. We have an assignment. So if you don't know yours, ask, because you're here to do something. So my friends, we've gone through all of these churches and all of these new ways to find God working, because, you know, if you go and you take communion or you get baptized, it doesn't change anything. Those are rituals and those are creeds, and they're lovely. And you might think that you'll find they don't really make the inner life rich. You might feel like, well, I did it, so I'm okay. But that's still in the human plane of thinking like, okay, I did that, so I'm okay. I went through rituals. I went to a priest. I got cleansed. It doesn't make any difference. You have to be the one. So that's the tough message, is that you are responsible, no one else, for your life. You have accumulated consciousness that you have. You brought that in. You've been working on this a long time. So as you open up to that, as you realize the God power within you, you move ahead. You move ahead with your life. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing here. We had mentioned the second coming, and other folks in history and in the church talk about Jesus is coming back. We're all about where is that man on a white horse. He left us, he rose, he's coming back. Well, that's really not what the second coming is about. We are the second coming. We're getting ready to leave an inheritance for the next generation to come in and have this plane gone. The human plane is going to disappear if we do our homework with the second coming, which is to nullify any negative powers. Now, this takes us to God being the only power, the only presence, and the only voice, the only wisdom. He made this plane perfect. This is all there is God created an entire spiritual universe of which we are coming in to work on making it perfect and easier by nullifying all the negative. So, let's look at our neighbor. The neighbor who beats his wife or has got a disease and complains all day and he's horrible. And he needs you. So, of course, you're right there. You're in his face. I was talking about privacy and what this spiritual life is really about. You could sit with someone in a very negative place and you could still be very aware that of yourself you are nothing and you are listening for the still small voice and you're recognizing this neighbor as perfect. Not sick, not beating his wife. And I know that sounds like such a stretch, and I mentioned that if you tell all your friends something about what you're dealing with, you may have them slipping out the back door embarrassed. Because this is not for everyone. You have to, like the infinite way, the I that I am drew me to Joel. I felt like I had nothing to do with it. I went through this Christian Science background, Methodist background, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, it was like, I was hit over the head because I drew it to me. The I of me drew the infinite way to me because it makes perfect sense to me. And to many infinite way folks, which are there are millions. And psychiatrists, psychologists, hospitals, doctors are now appreciating Joel Goldsmith and his work and his movement of the infinite way. They're recognizing how healing that is. It's like if someone comes to you and he's got a problem and they're moaning and groaning and you say, I can fix that. If you respond always with love, divine love, not human love, which is a very different love. Divine love is detached, but it sees the neighbor as who you are because you get yourself back in the vision of your neighbor. What you see is you. And that, I think, is our ticket to paradise. If you can remember that all day long, and the only way you're going to remember it is to dip in and out of consciousness as often as you can remember, which will increase as you see you get the added things. Okay, we're not supposed to pray for stuff. We're not supposed to say, I need this, I need new shoes, my marriage is horrible. Can you get me a house? I mean, that is not what we do with God. We don't take a wish list to God. The only way the added things come are when we don't ask and when we don't outline to God what we think we should have. That's not being like Jesus, waiting for that still small voice who recognized he knew nothing. So we can know nothing. I work hard on that because there are things I think I know I want, but I have to sort of put that aside and saying that may not be the best idea for me. And that comforts me in that I can rest back and say, okay, I'll be patient. Speak to me, guide me, but be my life and the only life that I have. It's the only life I want. So I have to meditate. I have to love silence. That's prayer. Prayer is not begging for anything. Prayer is sitting back and accepting what comes. The voice will speak to you. I promise you that. It's kind of like, it can make you laugh. The little miracles, they're just abundant all day long. It's for us to enjoy. So my friends, like all the mystics, Jesus, Lao Tzu, Buddha, John, Paul, we have so many inspirational mystics that have come with the exact same message. There is one God. Jesus happened to be the guy that happened to write this down kind of well, or Paul did, where it's like the Ten Commandments are really laws. Those are like human laws. We don't go there. We go to what mystics know, that it's just the still small voice. It's the silence. It's not obeying rules. Again, that's the earth plane. So the mystics that have shared with us have the identical message. They rested and they melted back and they felt the wholeness of their soul. Now here's the thing about God. You can't find him in a finite place. Like, he's not in my body. We always think he must be in there because my brain is doing this, but he's not in a finite place. Consciousness cannot be put anywhere. So where is it? We don't have to know that. God just is. He's present. The voice is present. He's everywhere. He's in everyone. So it's magical, it's mystical. I don't know, it's a very cheery way to live. That's all I can tell you. And it slaps me in the face where, oh my gosh, I forgot to remember. We have to get that message. We're here to realize as often as we can who we are. We are created, we are loved, we are guided. And we are eternal, and we're immortal, and we have infinity, which means, by the way, you get over this death bug, that's impossible. That doesn't happen, and I don't know. Many people have had this out-of-body thing. I've been blessed when I was a teenager. It's almost as if I got this little glimpse of eternity, which kind of got me hooked. God knew what he was doing with me. I kind of got hooked on, oh, I really like that place I went to. I came back, I thought I was having a heart attack. I was in a lot of pain. And I wept like a baby. And I remember reading that Joel had that experience. And I'm sure many people have that experience of getting the glimpse of what life is. And when you get slapped back, for me, I think the tears were, oh my God, I'm back. It's like, yeah, this is a suffering place. If we fall for the hypnotism, if we fall for what everyone thinks it is, if we think we've got cancer and everybody's got a bug, then sure enough, you honor that. And yeah, in the human plane, go right ahead, because that's what's going to happen. But if you want to dehypnotize the theories out there, you have to work at that. You have to, when in a dehypnotized state, let's say of illness, you can actually have a healing, because you realize that God, if he's immortal, eternal, and is infinity, that can't have anything to do with us. If that's who God is and we recognize that, all this other stuff is null and void. So we have to nothingize. That's a term that I find interesting. We have to nullify it. Our job for the second coming is to say, go away. You don't exist. You don't wrestle with it either. You don't take a problem to the problem. You don't try to solve a problem with another problem or look at a problem. You don't look at it. You negate it. You see what it is privately, so you don't get in trouble if someone says, what are you talking about? I'm sick as a dog. You see them whole and complete. It's the gift you can give anyone and everything. And we have such stuff going on with politics and, oh, nonsense. It's a heads up for all of us to see the purity in everyone. No matter what it looks like, see the purity. See the evolution of where we've come from hellfire and damnation to metaphysics, which is overcoming something with something else. Not claiming there's death or sin or damnation. Then we go to mysticism. And Jesus really was the way shower on the rules in the sense that he explained to his disciples. And many of his disciples didn't get it. And I understand that. But those that did became teachers. Moses brought his folks out of Israel. I mean, when I think of the magic that has happened to mystics that surrender and who let God guide them through miracles, we have a history of that happening. So the infinite way says, we are whole, complete, perfect. We came into a world that's hypnotized, and we have got to be the second coming that actually sees the fourth dimension. Joel calls about the fourth dimension, which is no darkness, only joy, only light, and only peace. So you got to switch from what you think you're looking at and say, I'm going for that fourth dimension, because that's the reality of immortality, the God of the universe that created me as an individual expression. I have to go for that because I want to be peaceful. I want to not wake up worrying. I don't want to go to bed worrying. And I'm beginning to stop watching stuff on TV that really is negative or scary, because I'm outgrowing the fact that I can't deal with it anymore because I know better. I don't want to rehearse someone else, even if it's Law and Order, whatever, which I've enjoyed in the past. Right now it's like, I think I'd rather watch Mayberry or Lucille Ball or something that just cheers me up. I think that things fall away from us as we grow, as we get more divinely impersonal. Divine love is not human love. Divine love, God loves the worst, the atheists, the sinners, the adulterers. He's waiting for us. The Christ consciousness is just waiting for us to tune in. So the message for the ages is really about how much are you willing to find your core. So your center is alive. Your center is waiting for you to realize the God within you. How much God are you willing to realize to walk on water? It's up to you. That's the hard part. Your life is completely up to you. You have a consciousness that has accumulated all that you are and that you've thought. All that you've been through is accumulated within you. So you're working on what you've got, which is why the secret self, this I that you are, is working with you constantly, moving you to where you can help others. We're all here to serve. There's no question that serving in many ways, we can't be so idealistic to show up in a football stadium and shriek what we know, but we can go to a soup kitchen. We can serve. We can work for the Council on Aging. We can drive a car. We can help a neighbor. We get ourselves back doing that. That is how we let the splendor out. We work. We have revelations, and we work with who do we help out here? Because that is where the splendor is being shared, and that's where it all comes back. We're not looking for something. We're not desiring something. We're just sharing what we are and what we can give. All right, my friends, I want to recommend a message for the ages. It's taking us to almost a prescription for the universe. It's almost like a reason to be here, where we've been, where we're coming to, how hard the job can be. And yet the punchline is, if we really do this second coming right, Joel says the next generation can come in with none of this human plane here, none of this negativity. They can just come in and dance around the universe knowing who they are, who everyone else is. Now that's a lovely dream. And that's a goal. Because think of our children and our grandchildren and all those generations that are coming in. And I don't know, Joel thinks we've been here before, and I'm pretty sure that's true. And when we transition, we take what we have learned with us. We go alone, yes, but what we have accomplished, what our hearts have felt, how we've shared, how our consciousness has developed with our connection with the source, that goes with us. And it goes further. Once we are in another place, we continue our work, whether we come back as angels, whether we come back as teachers, preachers, whatever it is, it won't be up to us, it'll be up to the boss. It'll be up to who created us. The creator of the entire universe is in charge of every one of us. So we listen, and I can't say enough about meditation and silence and error. Remember that teachers are supposed to talk about what error is. It's not real. It's not power. It's not intelligence. God gave us his mind and his intelligence through the voice. But the mortal plane, you have to say, no, that's mortal. End of story. You let something go that isn't of the divine heritage that you have and of what your knowledge is. Your knowledge is not faith healing, not thinking, faith sounds to me like I'm pretty sure that's going to work. But you're not sure. You go to knowledge equaling the source of life, the source of what God has given us, and you're good to go. It can't get much simpler than that. That's all I know, is sometimes the simplest things go right by us. And as I think I've mentioned, the psychiatrists, hospitals, doctors are recognizing the power of mystical healing, of being dehypnotized from what you think's wrong with you and actually having a healing because you recognize that that can't be part of my world because my world's perfect. My body's perfect. My soul is perfect. My soul rules my life. So listening to your soul is critical. Listening, of course, to God speaking through your soul because God is one big soul. We're all connected. And that's our test. And our neighbor will help us. And our politicians will help us. All of life will help us, that we negate negative power. We teach that it doesn't exist, and we teach what love. Divine love is infinite way. That's the spiritual process. We are all in a big pot of divine love, which means we love everyone equally. God loves the sinner, the saint, everyone, because we are his. And he is working with us. So I cannot say enough about silence. In the midst of the worst turmoil, you close in and you're silent and you acknowledge within your heart what's going on and who you are. So being who you are is what the message of this book is. A message for the ages is honor who you are, let everything else go. Work with the earth plane to help just nullify it. Don't work with it like it's a problem and you're going to sort it out. Just nullify it. Let it go. And that is a dare, isn't it? Because it looks so real and you're so brainwashed. How can I let that go? You can, if you practice. You see, I've been practicing this infinite way material for about 7+ years, and I'm finding that it just reminds me I got to practice harder, and that I'm learning more from my practice. And we can't study enough. The studying takes us to the Christ consciousness within us. Our studies are wonderful. We have to work our life out that way. We have to study. We have to step up to the plate knowing what our reward is, which we don't program. The added things are those miracles that come to us that can blow us out of the water, which I always think, yes, guidance available. Listen. Be quiet. Be still and know I am that I am. I am the truth, the way, and the life. End of story. Amen. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I have it all because I accept the one power within me. I accept the fact that the presence never, ever, ever leaves me. All I have to think about that on the road, as I was on the Mass Pike, it's like, okay, yes, we're driving. You're driving everybody's car, thank you. The presence, you're aware, and then you're listening. And you're grateful. Start your day with gratitude. And remember, in the morning, before you go flying out with wet hair, check the negation. Check the negative stuff that's going through your head. Correct everything. Go out powerful. Go out claiming gratitude. The most wonderful thing in the world is gratitude. You've got so much to be thankful for. Family, friends, love, work. So much to be grateful for that it just demands that you sort everything out first thing in the morning. In the middle of the night, Joel says that's a great time to go into the presence. He highly recommends, and I like that. Sometimes I put on, because I'm a musician, I have to put on some beautiful sound. And if I need to shed a tear in gratitude, it's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to love divinely people, all people. So I'm going to wind down, my friends, because, as you know, I'm committed to Joel Goldsmith. I want to, again, thank him for all the work he's done. What has he done? 50 books. He's got tapes. Oh, another thing about the Infinite Way groups. It's not a social activity to go to sit down with Infinite Way folks. They'll put on a tape. We'll listen to them. And there's no chatter about the truth, because truth can't be chatted about. You know, the presence can't be chatted about. You rest in the presence. So you go and you listen to those truths from Joel. Let's say you go to an Infinite Way group, and you might all meditate together, and you might all feel the presence together. But that's the size of what we do. It's not an organized religion. And that's where Joel, when he left Christian Science and found that some political stuff started to walk into his door, and he found that that just wasn't where he wanted to go. Where he started his healing profession, he healed thousands of people. Thousands of people. I mean, he was an amazing healer. And then he realized, yeah, we've got to go beyond organization. We have to just be in spirit. God is spirit. Spirit. Think of that. It's just spirit. So wherever we are, wherever we go, we've got spirit. We've got an infinity. We've got an invisible, transparent person or entity to just share with us. We've got it all. So my friends, I'm going to thank you for joining me on Awaken the Dream, and I will look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.